As I was reading through these beautiful new Machzors, preparing for the high holidays, I came across a reading that really struck me, that made me think. I'd like you all to read it with me now. You can find it on the top of page 221. 221. Hear the sound of the shofar, you who are caught up in the daily routine, losing sight of eternal truth, you who waste your years in vain pursuits that neither profit nor save. Please join me. In what ways do my heart, mind, and soul need to be awakened by the shofar? What truly matters to me? What makes me feel that my life is significant? Am I too often wasting my most precious possession, the minutes, the hours, the days of my life? Are we, wasting the universal currency of our lives, our time, on trivialities? How can I bring more of what really matters into my life? In what ways do I need the shofar's cries to awaken me? Those of you who were here last night know that the shofar's cries can be a vessel for letting out our own cries from deep within. In our Haftarah today, we read a story of a woman whose tears helped let out the answers to those questions, the answers that reside in the deepest caverns of our soul. Our Haftarah tells the story of Hannah, who year after year prayed to God to give her a child, a son, but who every year could not get pregnant. Every year when Hannah would go to the temple to pray, her husband's other wife, Peninnah, would taunt her, since Peninnah had many children of her own. Every year, these taunts made Hannah cry. They made her tremble with grief. Seeing her upset, her husband Elkanah would ask, in a classic biblical display of male ego, "Why do you cry? And why do you not eat? And why are you upset? Am I not worth more to you than 10 sons?" But Hannah knew the answer to our questions. What truly matters in my life? What would make me feel significant? For Hannah, it was having a son. So Hannah returned to the temple and, quote, bitter to the core, she prayed to the Eternal, weeping and crying, end quote. As she prayed, she rocked, almost wobbled, her body unable to steady itself from the tempest raging inside her. Hannah moved her lips, but spoke so quietly, only she and God could hear the soft utterances of her heart. Eli the priest, seeing her unsteady stature and her slurred mumblings, admonished her, thinking she was drunk, telling her to sober up. "But I'm just a woman of sorrow," said Hannah. "I drank neither wine nor spirits. I just poured out my soul before God." Then Eli, seeing the depth of her despair, how she was earnest and sincere, offered her a blessing. "Then go in peace, and may the God of Israel grant what you've asked." Later that year, Hannah gave birth to a baby boy, Samuel. God answered Hannah's prayer. Out of all the myriad prayers, petitions, and pleas throughout the Bible, almost all written or uttered by men, the rabbis of the Talmud single out Hannah's prayer as so special. They declared that all Jews should model their prayer after hers. What made Hannah's prayer so special? The Talmud says, "V'chana hi medaberet al liba, mikan lemitpalel Sarich sheyichvin libo. In English, Hannah spoke in her heart. Therefore, in order to pray, one must focus. One must yichvin, the heart. We must focus our intention. We must pray with, from the same root as yichvin. We must pray with kavanah. We model our prayer after Hannah because she showed us the true meaning of kavanah, of intention. Hannah allowed herself to look deep within, to feel and examine her own brokenness. She took what she saw, those shattered pieces of her heart, and shared them with God. With God's help, she focused and forged those fragments into a lev maleh, a full heart, more whole, stronger than before. As we read together a few minutes ago, the call of the shofar, it too reminds us to be intentional, to stir ourselves awake, to be like Hannah, to let the call of the shofar attune us to the quiet murmurs and the soft rattles within our own hearts and souls. In the month of Elul, the month leading up to Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur, it's traditional to blow the shofar every day as part of the morning prayer service. Now, based on the story we just read about Hannah, you might think that the shofar should be blown before the tefillah, before services, to remind us to bring extra kavanah into our prayers. But actually, we blow the shofar after the entire service is over, as everybody is about to depart and begin their day. The placement of these daily shofar blasts is to remind us to bring extra intention, extra kavanah, not just to our prayers, but to our actions in the real world, to how we live our lives. During the high holidays, our tradition urges us to take on a couple of spiritual processes that help us examine and improve exactly that, how we live our lives. Both these processes both require and engender intention. The first, cheshbon hanefesh, is a yearly accounting of the soul, in which we reconcile the good we did this past year with the ways we missed the mark. On one hand, I was impatient. I was jealous. On the other hand, I was there for my friends when they needed me, and I looked out for the poor and the needy. By taking the time to examine the balance of the good and the bad, the trajectory of our past actions, cheshbon hanefesh can help us set a new course, a new direction. And tellingly, the Hebrew word for direction, kivun, is closely related for the word to intention, kavanah. Kivun, direction, and intention, kavanah. The second process we undertake is teshuvah, which is often translated as repentance, but it literally means a returning. By examining and apologizing for how we may have hurt other people, hurt God, hurt ourselves, teshuvah helps us return to the right spiritual kivun, the right direction. The high holidays teach that if we want to find direction, find kivun, we must first approach our lives with kavanah, with intention. In a modern context, in 2018, how do we bring kavanah into our lives? How do we find direction? Yep, you probably guessed it, there's an app for that. During the month of Elul, the 20s and 30s Jewish engagement and community building organization I worked for last summer, called The Well, they post a daily reflection prompt on their social media pages. In the last couple years, thousands of people have used it as an opportunity for introspection, all posting with the hashtag reflect for Rosh. Prompts range from share a photo of a way you have changed over the past year. How do transitions affect you? To share a photo showing how you create joy in your life. Is this an easy or difficult practice for you? One prompt and response that really spoke to me were, share a photo of something that you hope to let go. What is stopping you? And someone responded, I don't have a photo because they are thoughts, feelings, and pressures that I put on myself, which often reside only in my mind and aren't actually real. I hope to continue to work on letting them go and focusing on the good. These high holiday kavanah tools, teshuvah, cheshbon hanefesh, even social media posts, can help us find kivun, direction, for how we treat others and for how we prioritize our precious time on earth. But bringing kavanah, intention, to our lives can do more than set us on the right path for the year ahead. Indeed, intention, kavanah, give us the power to transform the ordinary into the holy. This talit, this garment, which many of you I see are wearing today right now, is a wonderful example of how Judaism insists that through intention we can make the ordinary holy. We all know this is a special ritual garment, but it's not because of the beautiful fabric or the wonderful patterns on the garment itself, but it's because of these, the fringes, the tzitzit. These tzitzit are what make the talit a holy garment. Now, these knots are tied in a very specific way, and the number and arrangement of the knots on these tzitzit are steeped with symbolism. You may know that in Hebrew, each letter also represents a number. Aleph is 1, Bet is 2, and so on. Therefore, every Hebrew word has a corresponding number, called its gematria. The number of the knots in the tzitzit is the same as the gematria for God's name. Therefore, when we wrap ourselves in the talit, it's as if we're wrapping ourselves in the warm embrace of a loving and caring God. Also, the gematria of this word, tzitzit, is 600. And each tzitzit has 13 threads and knots. In total, 613. That is the number of commandments in the Torah. Accordingly, some Jews wear a small talit all the time, a talit katan, not just when they pray, but all day, every day. A constant reminder to fill their lives and their words with those 613 commandments, deeds from the Torah. So then, like with the shofar, every flicker of the tzitzit into their peripheral vision can be an awakening from the daily routine. A reminder, a jolting reminder to be intentional, to live with kavanah. Unfortunately, though, since most of us buy our talitot with the tzitzit already tied, we miss out on the aspect of the talit that is most filled with intention. When tying tzitzit, after finishing each series of knots, you must declare out loud, L'shem mitzvat tzitzit. Or in English, this is for the mitzvah of the tzitzit. If that step is left out, if the person fails to declare the intention of their actions even once, even if all the knots are tied correctly, the talit is not kosher. It's just a bunch of strings and knots. It's kavanah. It's intention that enables us to turn ordinary strings into a holy garment. Kavanah can make the ordinary holy, not just in ritual garments, but in our most mundane daily chores. In his guide to Jewish meditation, Rabbi Aryeh Kaplan offers a great example of this. He explains how to make washing dishes a holy act. And since my girlfriend Rachel and I just moved into a New York City apartment without a dishwasher, I really like this part of his book. Rabbi Kaplan explains that instead of thinking about washing the dishes as just one more chore, one more laborious task after a long day of cooking, we should instead focus on the next time the dishes will be used, how we will use them to prepare nourishment for the people who we love, and how through a shared meal with friends and family, we connect not only to each other, but to God. This kavanah, this intention, turns a simple act of scrubbing into a longing for that next time, when our table will again be filled with laughter, with blessings, with the mundane moments that transform the ordinary into the divine. So this holiday season, may we take the time to be jolted awake, to truly examine the broken shards and the wholeness within each of us. May we use kavanah to find kivun, to find direction. And may we come to see how filling our lives with intention can make even our most ordinary tasks moments of introspection, moments of connection, and moments of holiness. Shana Tova and Gamar Chatima Tova. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
And may we all be sealed in the book of life.